Okay, we continue from where we stopped last week. Gonna go this one, a hash function terminology. So a hash function is a mathematical algorithm. Basically, it's not encryption or decryption, but it's still you still hide the plain text message, or you can also for authentication, or you want to have your password, you can use a hash function. Hash function is used in the blockchain. All right. It's a mathematical algorithm that maps data of any size. Any size, you can put any inputs, long inputs or short inputs, but it output is always the same. Okay, a bit string of fixed size. So output is a bit string of a fixed size. Either it's a lengthy message, a big file of data, or small message or small data. It will always produce a fixed size of output in the form of bit string. So we can refer the function as a message. We can refer to the function input as a message or simply as input. Okay, a message, mostly a message or data or plain text. The fixed size string function output is known as the hash. So this is where, sorry. So this is the hash you want, the in a hexadecimal format, or the message digest. You can call it a hash or a message digest (MD). So just like your digest your food, it's not in the in the original form anymore. Hash function used in cryptography have the following key properties. Okay, these two key properties are very important for the hash function. First, it is easy and practical to compute the hash. Okay, you put any hash function, it's very easy to produce the output. Okay, you have a message, plain text, and then you apply the hash function, then you have the output, hash pt or something like that. Okay, hash function pt. So it's easy to compute the hash. It's easy to get this one, the message digest or hash, but difficult or impossible to regenerate the original input if only the hash value is known. Let's say you only, okay, this one is a, okay, this is a hash function, and you have the output of hash. So you have a output of hash, but pt is unknown. It is easy to go this way from left to right. Okay, you have a plain text, you apply a hash function, and you get the message digest or a hash. But in the reverse process, from sorry, this is from left to right, from right to left. If you only have the hash function, it is very difficult or almost impossible to get the plain text. Okay, it is a one way only, one way. It's easy to get the hash function, but it's really difficult to get the in the reverse process. If you only have the message digest or hash output, it is very difficult for you to get a plain text or message. So this is what we call a one way. Impossible to regenerate the original input from here. Like encryption, if you have an encryption, and then you have a ciphertext, you do a decryption, is a reverse process. But hash function is a one-way property. It is difficult to create an initial input that will match a specific desired output. Okay, if you want a hash like this one, a certain hash like this one output, it is very difficult to get an input or message that will produce this kind of output, hash output. Okay, again, this is a one-way property, one-way property of hash function. It's easier this way, easy, but this one impossible. So in contrast to encryption, hashing is a one-way mechanism, one-way street. The data that is hashed cannot be practically unhashed. Okay, it's very difficult. But in theory, you can. you can generate the, I mean, if you have the hash output, you can generate the message or the plain text or the original data, but it's going to be very difficult. It is almost impossible. So, what's the difference between the hash and the encryption decryption? So hash basically for authentication. So if you don't know the means of authentication at this stage, it is just to determine that it is really you send, it's really you receive from someone that you intend to receive. This is authentication. So if you have an encryption decryption, as we flashback, you have a plain text, you encrypt, you have an encrypted text, and then you decrypt, you have a plain text. But hashing algorithm, you have a plain text, you apply hash function, this is the hash text. So this is a hash text. It's a very different. So plain text meaning that encryption and decryption is a two-way street, but hashing algorithm is a one-way street. From here to here is easy, but if you only have the hash output, you want to go back to the plain text is difficult. Extremely difficult. Not difficult, extremely difficult. Okay. So this is the hash function. You can play around with this SHA-256 hash calculator. You can put any input. Okay, this is SHA-256 secure hash algorithm, 256 bits. So if you put the TX1, TX2, TX3, the hash algorithm will be kind of like this with the hash. Let's say you just add one more bit here, or you add one more bit, or you change from 1 to 2 or something else. It will totally create a different output. That's why it is difficult to go on the reverse way. You have the hash output, it almost extremely difficult, almost impossible to get the output. Okay, but it's easier if you have the input, apply the hash function, you get this one. So tx1, tx2, tx3 will produce this output. But if you change one bit or you add one bit, just one bit more, you will totally have the different output. You can play around with this SHA-256 hash calculator, secure hash algorithm. So like message authentication code, remember it's a message authentication code for your authentication, okay? Verifying that you are you, the message received match with the message source. So like MAC, hash function is a one-way function that accepts a message M and produce a fixed size message digest or hash of M. Unlike MAC, okay, different from MAC, message authentication code, just to recall, this is a message authentication code. You learn so this one, if you, okay, hash doesn't have a key, but for MAC, message authentication code, not the, we call the MAC layer OSI is a different thing. So this is a MAC just to verify the message is real or send from someone you intended to receive. Okay, which is just like a checksum. But it's in a way MAC is same with the hash, but it has a different, like it takes only the message, not the key. So hash doesn't really have the key. You just play with the message. You apply the hash function, you don't need the key. You only need a message. So you only take a message as input to generate the message digest or the hash of message. Hash is used to detect changes to message, same like MAC, MAC, message authentication code, not MAC layer. Machine and called it an OSI, forgot already. It's your MAC address or something. It's different. It's not a MAC address or Mac, your second layer. This is a message authentication code. It can be used with both symmetric and asymmetric encryption, used in various ways with message. You can combine it most often to create a digital signature, again, authentication, meaning that it is really you that send the message. It's a really person, the real person. If John, you can verify this is a John. This is John that sending the that send the message. If it is Alice that send the message using a digital signature, either MAC or hash or any other. And you can combine this with the encryption and decryption. So you have here like, okay, this is the using a conventional encryption. Okay, so you can use a conventional encryption in part A here using conventional encryption. You have your message, you hash, and then you can encrypt using the SAS or whatsoever. It is assumed that only the sender and receiver share the encryption key. So again, symmetric encryption, only sender and receiver have the secret key. If the sender and receiver has only sender and receiver has the secret key, so the authenticity is assured. And hash function also can be used using a public key encryption. The public key encryption has two advantages. It provides digital signature as well as message authentication, because you don't need a way to like, how do you pass the your secret key to the receiver and stuff. And again, it does not require the distribution of keys to communicating parties. Okay, so you don't have to share the key. And again, it provides the digital signature as well as a message authentication. So you can use, as I mentioned before, you can use the hash function together with the encryption and decryption. But the hash function alone, you do not use a key. Okay. Another way is you don't use the encryption and decryption. Okay. Actually, encryption software, if you encryption software is very slow. Of course, you can add more security. You add hash, you add encryption, whatsoever. It will increase the security. But as I mentioned, in a logical thinking, a logical sense, encryption software is really slow. Even though the amount of data to be encrypted message is small, even though you have a small message, there may be like a steady streams or a couple or multiple message when you gather around, when you collect, it become a very big. You apply the encryption decryption function, it can become really slow. Um, in the hardware sense, the encryption hardware is non-negligible. Okay, it's a low. Encryption hardware also is optimized toward the large data size. And then another thing, encryption algorithm might be protected by a pattern. Okay, you cannot simply use. You cannot simply apply the standard. It might have a pattern behind it, so you cannot use that. Okay. So that's why we have a third technique, using secret value. Okay, you append a secret value S here. So basically, you assume that A and B share a common secret value. You can assume that this like a key, but it is not a key, just a secret value, just a hexadecimal, something like that. So A calculates Alice. This is A. Sorry. So this assume A and B share common secret value. So S. So A and B. A. Why? So you have here A and you have here B, at least in Bob. A calculates hash function of secret value message. So you have this one. So this part is message digest of M. hash function of M when you combine or concatenation secret value and the message here, this part. So message plus the message combined with the message digest is sent. This one is, this part is message concatenate with message digest M. Is sent to Bob or B. B recalculates the hash function and verify. So if this one match with this one, so you verify it is a real sender, the sender that you intended to receive the file. If it doesn't match, it is not authentic. It is not authentic. Okay, message has been altered or is sent by other people that try to impersonate the real sender. So, secure hash function important not only in message authentication but in digital signatures. You have a message authentication and you also have a digital signatures to verify John is John, Alice is Alice. Purpose is to produce a fingerprint of a file, message or other block of data. Okay, so you have a fingerprint. I mean, fingerprint is in a real world fingerprint. Your fingerprint, your thumbprint is unique to you only. I'm not sure in scientific whether I'm not sure whether there are people that have the same thumbprint. I don't think so. Even though it have maybe like one in billion, one in I don't know million or something. So your fingerprint, your thumbprint is unique to you, just like your ID or something. Okay. To be useful for message authentication, a hash function must have the following properties. So this is the properties. So variable input size, age can be applied to block of data of any size. Okay, if you have here like a short message or very lengthy message, if you apply a hash function, it will become the same output string. Age can be applied to block of data of any size, either a short one or long one. It will create a fixed same output string, fixed output string. Fixed output size, H produce fixed length of output. So like this one. Sorry, this one is like okay. Let's say. So this one like the same one. Sorry for that. Efficiency, hx. So a function. This one x is the message. Is the m message or plain text. It's relatively easy to compute for any given x, making both hardware and software implementations practical. As I mentioned before, if you have a message, you apply the hash function, you have the hash output of m. This is, you want to generate this hash function is easy. One way, from left to right. Pre-image resistance, okay? The pre-image resistance. For any given hash value, it is computationally infeasible to find y such that hy is equal to h. Okay, this one-way property. Let's say you have message hash and you got the output of the hash function. But let's say you only have the output of hash function. It is on this way. It is computationally infeasible. It's not. It is almost impossible to get from the hash function to get the original message. This part from here, from message to get the hash functions is easy. This one is extremely difficult. Okay, in a mathematical way, if like fx is equal to y, fx is equal to this in mathematical notation, x is said to be pre-image of y. If you have mathematical function fx is equal to y, x is said to be pre-image, okay, pre-image of y. So this is a pre-image resistance. The word pre-image come from one-way property. Second pre-image resistance, weak collision resistance. Okay, what is that? Okay, image, you know, okay, for any given block X is commonly inferior to find YX. Okay, in theory, there is like two outputs, two inputs. Okay, let's say X, Y, T, S, and then you have A, B, C, D. This is just an example. If you apply the hash function, it will produce the same output in hash function. This is by theory. We will not cover that. But by theory, you have different input will produce you have two different input that will produce let's say the output is Z, T, K, A, something like that. Okay. Let's say you have for any given block X, you have the X. You have the XY, what is the XYTY or something like that. It is completely infeasible to find another input, okay? If you have one input, it is almost impossible to find another input that will produce the same output, okay? For any given block, X message, it is computationally infeasible or very extremely difficult to find Y is not equal to X with hy, the hash function of y is equal to hash function of x. Okay, this is a weak collision resistance, meaning that it's collide, meaning that the two input collides together to get the same output. The two different inputs collides together to get the same output. That's why it means a weak collision resistance. Second pre-image resistance. Okay. And then you have a collision resistance, strong collision resistance. So weak collision resistance, then you have a strong collision resistance. So you have it is computationally infeasible to find any pair X, Y, Z, Z. So it is okay. This one is difficult. You have one input. Yeah, you have one input. You have one input and you have the desired output. You have the desired output. You want to find another input is very difficult. This is a weak collision resistance. But for the collision resistance, you want to find a pair of input that produce the same output. You want to find X and Y that produce HX equal to HY. Okay. You want to find a pair of input, a pair of different input. Again, X is not equal to Y. Okay. You want to find a pair of X and Y that produce the same output HX and HY. So this is strong collision resistant. Okay, this is different. This you have one input, you want to find another input. This one you want to find two inputs, two different inputs that produce a same output. Very difficult, almost impossible. And the final property is the pseudo-randomness. Output of H meets standard test for pseudo-randomness. So it must be random. It must not have a pattern, a predictable pattern, a predictable pattern. Must have a very extremely long period. Okay. Of course, in theory, they have a statistical model that you can expect after maybe million or 2 million. After million and 2 million sequence, you will repeat back the same, but uh, it is almost impossible to create that. Okay, it's almost impossible, but it is possible, or it is almost impossible. Wait, am I correct? It is almost impossible. Yeah, almost impossible. Yeah, correct. Play around with the word. Sorry. Yeah. With collision resistance. So I hope you understand this. the first three requirements, variable input size, fixed input size, and efficiency is easy. Then you have another three properties number 3, 4, and 5 is difficult. Okay, this one is easy. This part is easy. This part is difficult. And pseudo randomness is also difficult. Anyhow, there are two approaches for attacking a secure hash function. One is cryptanalysis, involves exploiting logical weakness in the algorithm. So, yeah, of course, cryptanalysis, if you have maybe you have a part of the message. You don't have a full message. You have the hash function, and maybe you have a small part of the message. Not the whole message. Maybe you can break it. I mean, it will attack on the logical weakness on the algorithm. Brute force attack, of course. Brute force attack is possible. You try every possible combination of key. Of course, it will take 1,000, 2,000 years with the current PC speed. Brute force attack. Okay, this is a simple hash function, a simplified one. Okay, a simplified one. So yeah, consider a too simple insecure hash function. Bit by bit, say okay, you have a block one, let's say in the form of 64 bits, one block, block two until block M. So each block bit one until Bn you XOR. B11 XOR with B12 and XOR with B1M, and you have a hash code C1 here first, and then you have a hash code C2 and Cn. Okay. But it is this one simple hash function is exposed to the longitudinal redundancy check. Okay. Is I mean it's quite secure, but this I mean this is simplified hash function, but people already exploit the this discover the weakness. But in order to explain to you a hash function, this is the way the simplest one. So it reasonably effective as data integrity check. Integrity means that data is not data is not modified or altered. I mean that data is not modified or altered unauthorized way. Of course, in order to improve this simple hash function, by just XOR bit by bit, you can also use a 1-bit circular shift on hash value. So you have for each successive n-bit block, you rotate current hash value to left by 1 bit and XOR the block. So like one for each successive n-bit block. Okay, block number one maybe you maintain. Block number two you shift, and block number three you shift again 2 bits and so on, and then you XOR. Okay. It's good for data integrity, but again, it's useless for security. Maybe people can recover the message. Data integrity meaning that data is not altered or modified in unauthorized way. Okay. Okay, this is a simple hash function. Later we will go to the more complex one. Uh, so you have a types of hash function. So you have MD2, MD4, and MD5 developed by Ronald Rivest. So there are several attacks on MD2, MD4, MD5. It is based on the simple hash function. Okay. The string RC4 using this one, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have a SHA, secure hash algorithm, version 1. They use 160-bit message digest. Okay, 160-bit message digest. So you have 160-bit output hash function. But on February 23, 2017, in CWI, I think this is the what is CWI is I think in Amsterdam is a research group or something from Amsterdam, and Google announced they had performed a collision attack against SHA-1. Collision attack. Okay, when you see the collision attack, meaning that what? Remember collision? In theory, hash function has hx equal to hy. There is one, there is pair of inputs that will produce the same output. So they are able to discover another input that produce the same output. A collision attack against SHA version 1. Publish two dissimilar PDF file which produce the same SHA-1, SHA version 1. So you can click. I'm not sure whether you have already uploaded in the Spectrum for those, or maybe I will upload in my Google Drive. So you can refer to this one. So they successfully break the secure hash algorithm version 1. They already have they can find the pair of inputs that produce the same outputs. So because of this 160-bit message digest, it's not really secure anymore. Okay, with the advance of hardware processing speed, and they say like the quantum computer can break any of the security, encryption, decryption. I'm not sure. So hopefully we will. Hopefully when the quantum computer become like available in a mass, hopefully they have a more solid security algorithm that not easily break by quantum computing or high speed PC. So because of SHA-1, of course, 160-bit message digest is just waiting to happen to be break. So, or already done in 2017, 4 years ago. So they create a SHA-256 bits message digest, and you of course have a SHA-384, SHA-512. I think if I'm not mistaken, blockchain either use Bitcoin either use 256 or 512. Can't remember. So you have a SHA secure hash algorithm 256.384.512 have been proposed to use with AES 128, 192, 512B encryption by the National Institute of Standards Technology USA. Okay, so you can use a hash function together with the encryption. Just refer to this one on your slide number 51. Okay, you can use with the symmetric encryption. You can use asymmetric encryption. Okay, RSA and diffie help RSA mostly. Okay, and of course you can just use the hash function with the encryption and decryption. So you have a message digest size. You have a message digest. You have 160 for SHA version 1, SHA version 2 or 2 to this is SHA version 1, but this one is SHA version 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so the message size is less than 2. Message size is you break, and the maximum message size is less than 2 to the power 64. Okay, less 2 to the power 128 and 128. And the block size is 512, 1024, and 124. Word size 32, and number of taps, number of rounds. Okay, so all size are measured in bits. All this in a bits. So we go to SHA-512. Okay. SHA-512, SHA-356, or 284 all have a similar manner, similar algorithm. Just you add some more bits. Okay. So the algorithm takes as input a message with maximum length of less than 2 to the power of 128. Okay. 2 to the power of 128. Okay. First step one is to append padding bits. Suppose that you don't have. So the second one, append padding bits. Padding is let's say in a block you must have per block you have must have like 64 bits. You only have, let's say your message a very short very short message like you say like hey Bob. Okay, hey Bob, let's say it's only 48. In order for you to complete the whole 64 bit, you have to add the padding bits. Okay, additional bits to complete. This is what I call padding. You pad, you put the bits in order to in order to occupy the empty spaces. And then you append the length with the original message. You initialize the hash buffer and you process the message in 1024 bit or 128 word blocks, which form the heart of the algorithm. So you have the output final state value as the resulting hash. So this is the one. Okay, first you append the padding bits. Okay, you append the padding bits. So you append the padding bits. So this you have a L you the message is padded so that is okay. The message, okay, you have a 1024. Okay, so this message until this one is a this is the padding. This is the padding bits. So this is the message. So you always add the message is always padded and that create a length that is congruent to 896 mode 1024. Okay, this part this part the length is always 896 mode 1024. Okay, message might be less than 896, so you have to add the padding bits. Okay, you add padding is always added even if the message is already of the desired length. Okay, so the padding bits in the range of 1 to 1024. So this is the append the padding bits. And step 2, you append the length of 1 to 8 bits. This block is treated as unsigned 1 to 8, unsigned 1 to 8 bit integers. Okay, so it contains the length of the original message before padding. The content of the original message before padding. And then you have an initialized hash buffer. You have an initialized hash buffer. A 512 bit buffer. You have A until H. It's actually a pseudo. It's actually a square root fraction of square root of the first eight prime numbers. Okay, 2, 3, 5 was the first 2, 3, 5, 7, 7, and then 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13, and then you have a 17, and then you have 19. So this, okay, you have A until H. A until H. You take a fraction of the square root of the 8 prime numbers. Okay, you have 8. Uh, you initialize the hash buffer. This function is the key, is the heart of the secure hash algorithm. Is the heart of secure hash algorithm. We will see after this. the function of it, a block function. And of course, for the first, okay, the message is organized in a couple of n times 1024 bits. This is message 1, 1024 bits, message 2, 1024 bits, until message 1024 bits. It is processed in 1024 bits, okay, 1024 bits. And it using a block chaining mode, because hash 1, the output of hash number 1 will become the input of hash of block number 2. Hash 1 block, the output of hash output of block 0 or block 1, sorry, block 1 will become the input of block number 2, and so on. This is a hash output. For the first block, you have the initialization vector. Okay, we will have an initialization vector which is 512 bits. This is 512 bits, 512 bits, 512 bits. That's why in the beginning, as I mentioned before, either a short message or a long message, it will always produce a 512 bits. Why? Because you add the padding bits and the original length message, or original length of the message before padding, in terms of 1 to 8 bits. So it is processed in 1024 bit or 128 word blocks. So the compression function here, f, is the heart of the algorithm. It is the heart of algorithm. The f function in the previous one, the f function is processing message in 1024 bit blocks, consists of 80 rounds. Remember a symmetric block cipher or AES, we have like 16 round or maybe a 10 round. Remember the mix code, but this one is 80 rounds. 80 rounds. You're updating a 512 bit buffer using a 64 bit value of word derived from the current message block, and a round constant based on the cube root of first 80 prime numbers. Constant based on the cube root of first 80 prime numbers. So this is a round constant. The constant is one, a round constant. The constant 0. This is not a key, this is a constant. Okay, this is the constant. So you have here a message digest, and this is the previous block hash output. This is the, okay, this is the block 0. This in the initial hash buffer, you have a until h. A until h. What we called it, 64 bit registers. A, this a until h, we call it a 64 bit register. Then you have round 0. Apply the constant of round 0. The first, remember the 80 prime numbers. K0 is like 2. This is a seed number, it's a fraction. If you, it's a hexadecimal of the square root prime number. This one. So we will not go to the mathematics of cryptography. That's in depth. This is cryptography in depth, almost all mathematical. So this one, you apply the round, you apply the constant, and then this one is a round 0. You apply all this a until h 64 bit register, round 0 round until round 79. Okay, then you have a h1, and this h1 will be supplied to the next block. It's a like chaining block, what, CBC, chaining block chain mode, if I mentioned correctly, CBC. So it's a feedback. I mean, you use the output of the previous block to the next block. Okay. So this is the round 0. Round 0, round 0, round T, and round 17 have their own functions. Okay. This is their own functions. Okay, you have here A, B, C, D, F, G, H. This is 64-bit register. Remember, this is 64-bit register. You apply the round function. So this is actually the round function. You have here, this is all, okay, we will explain this one. Just let you know, we will not go to the mathematical of this, just to explain what is this, everything. Uh, so this is like 80 rounds. The structure of each 80, the structure of each of the 80 rounds, okay? Each each 64-bit word shuffle along one place and in some case manipulated using a series of simple logical function. So you have a function of AND, NOT, OR, XOR, rotates and stuff, all a logical function. Let's say you have a CH, okay, CH here. You have a CH, where is CH? This one, CH. CH is actually, shift register. Use the shift register E, F, and G, where E and E, you apply the logical function E and F, XOR with not E and G. So merge MAJ, merge ABC, A and B, so on. So merge is here, A, B, and C. And then you rotate A to 20, XOR with rotate R834, XOR with rotate A39. So this is this function, this one function. And delta is, so this is summation A and this is summation E. Summation E is where? So this is A and this is E. You have a summation A here and you have a summation E. And the function is this one, rotate AN28, XOR with rotate A34, XOR rotate A39. Rotate the shift register A, the shift 64-bit register A. This one rotate 64-bit register E. So plus is the addition modulo to the addition modulo 2 to the power of 64. And constant is the 64-bit additive constant, okay, from 0 to 80 round, from 0 to 79 or 80 round, sorry, 0 to 79 or 80 rounds, constant. And word is a 64-bit word derived from the current 512-bit input block. 64-bit word derived from the current 512-bit input block. Okay, that's why Bitcoin is very, in any blockchain. Okay, we talk about blockchain and Bitcoin is very secure, very difficult. Once it's in a blockchain network, it cannot be modified anymore because it is chained together. That's why chain together. The previous one is chained together with the next one. Next one to chain together with the next one. If you change any, okay, let's say this is the output and then you chain it together. Sorry, this one you second output, then you chain it together, second output, chain it together, yeah, and you chain it together here. So if you, let's say you want to change in the block number 3 here, all the previous and the next block will become invalid anymore. They will reject the change. Okay, that's why it is chained together. That's why blockchain is really like a really secure one, cannot be modified. Of course, in theory, if you have more than this is what we call a node or block. Let's say like block, all the node, more than half node agree to changing of anything in the database, you can change. But that is in theory. Like Bitcoin have, I don't know, 100,000 nodes or users. So all half of them must agree if you want to change anything in the database. So this SHA-512 used in the Bitcoin offshore 256. I can't remember, but still it's the same, it's a similar thing, it's secure. And this is a SHA-5 round function, the round function, 64 bits. So you use this one, So this the first 16 value of WT are taken directly from the 16 words of the current block. Okay, the first 16 values of W are taken directly from the 16 words of current block. And then the remaining values are defined as a function of earlier values using rotate shift XOR. The function elements you can see here. This is the function one. This is the function elements. This sigma 0, sigma 1, and so on. Okay. And of course, people in NIST, they kind of afraid, no. Like SHA version 1, SHA 1 that already the collision attack already successful in 2017. The people in NIST like, oh no, it might be SHA SHA like SHA 256 or 512 might be insecure in the net. Maybe in 4 or 5 years, who knows, when the computer's processor become very powerful. So they are now developing a SHA version 3, SHA 3. So it must be possible to replace SHA 2 with a SHA 3 in any application. Simple drop-in substitution. So in order to develop a SHA 3, it must be a simple drop-in substitution, a simple adding in the previous SHA. So in SHA 3 must support hash value length of 224, 256, 384 or 512 bits. Okay. And SHA 3 also must preserve the online nature of SHA 2. That is, the algorithm must process comparatively small blocks, 512 or 1024 bits. Okay. So these are basic requirements that satisfy any candidate for secure hash algorithm 3. In order for you to develop it, you must be easily substitute with SHA 2 and must preserve the online nature of SHA 2 as well. So they always think in advance, okay? And then you have a HMAC, hash message authentication code. Message authentication code alone is not enough. I mean, it's okay already for authentication, but you want to add more security. You add on top of layer, you add a hash function. Okay. What is the motivation of this adding a hash function in MAC? Cryptography hash function generally execute faster in software than conventional encryption algorithms such as DES. Okay. And library code for cryptography hash function is widely available. Hash functions such as SHA-1 was not designed for use as MAC. Okay. And cannot be directly for that purpose because it does not rely on the secret key. So there have been number of proposals for the incorporation of secret key into existing hash algorithm. So the approach that received the most support is HMAC. So NIST, RFC, IETF open for the proposal. So this approach received the most support is HMAC. Okay, the HMAC. So the standard document is RFC 2104. Has been chosen as a mandatory to implement MAC for IP security. So it used in a TLS, Transport Layer Security, and Secure Electronic Transaction (SET). So what is the design objective of HMAC? It is to use without modifications available hash functions, to allow for easy replaceability of the embedded hash function in case of more secure hash functions are found. Okay. And to preserve the original performance of the hash function without incurring a significant degradation. Of course, if you add, it will become much more slower, but you hope that the performance does not degrade too much. Okay, to use and handle key in a simple way, and to have a well understood, because MAC use key, so hash have to be compatible with that as well. to have a well understood cryptographic analysis of the strength of the authentication mechanism based on reasonable assumption on the embedded hash function. So the HMAC operations, this is the what we call that. This is standard document RFC 2104. If you want to read detail the HMAC operation, so it uses a hash function on the message. So HMAC of the message is K is a padded out size. HMAC of the padded K is hash function of the padded size, the padded key. Sorry, the padded bits XOR with the opaque. We will look on this after this. And hash with the you concatenate or combine with the hash of K plus XOR with the IPAC. You have opaque and IPAC. Where you combine with the M, the message. K plus is the key padded out to size. Again, remember padding is just to add some extra bits in order to fill up this empty space. And OPAD, IPAD are specified padding constant. Specified padding constant. So overhead is just 3 more hash calculations than the message needs load. So any hash function can be used like MD5, SHA-1 and all this old one. Okay. So this is the overall operation of HMAC. So you have here H, where is you have here H. H is sorry. You have here. Yeah. So here you have H here. Is the hash function, and you have a M message. Okay, M is a message. And then you have YI is a block. This one is a block. L is the number of blocks in M. L is the number of block in M. Okay, and then you have what we call that. You have a B. A B. Where is you have a B here? You have B bits here is the number of bits in a block. You have N number of bits in a block. Number of bits in block. L is a number of blocks. Number of blocks in M. Okay, and then you have N length of hash code. N length of hash code. Okay, you have iPad and OPAD as well. This is the iPad here, and this one is the OPAD. Okay, first you keep the K plus is padded with 0. Padding bits. You do a operation XOR with iPad, and then you have S, a string from a string output of a K plus XOR with the iPad. And then you concatenate or combine with the this one a number of block, and then you put a hash with the initialization vector here of n bits, and then you have a H S I concatenate with M, and then you pad to the B bits here, and then this one you have a K plus OPAD, you XOR, and you have a S0 here, so you combine your hash, so you have a double hash here. Then you apply the initial vector if you have a HMAC. So this is on the sender side. So of course in the receiver side it must match this one on the receiver side. So you can also a cipher-based message authentication code. Okay, just like cipher blockchaining mode, you can also you have a cipher based message authentication code. You have the cipher based message is used for the AES. So this cipher base used for AES and DES, specifically for AES and DES. Message 1B is depends if AES B is 128, DES if AES, remember, yeah, 128 bit, if DES is 64 bits. Okay, so the message is break into a couple of block M. So you encrypt, you add a key here, N blocks, and then you encrypt, and then the output of this is like a chaining block. The output of this block number one will become an input to the block number two, and so on. And this, okay, you have what we call it is MSB, most significant bits of the length, most significant bit of the length T. Okay. T is the message authentication code, or referred as a tag. This is a tag. And then this is the okay. So this, the A is message length is integer multiple of block size, and B the message length is not integer multiple of block size. So it's a different, little bit different. Not integer multiple of block size. So of course you have a counter with cipher blockchain message authentication code counter. So remember the counter, you don't have a feedback, but you have a seed number. You have a counter that is a really pseudo random. Really. So authentication system used to describe encryption system that simultaneously protect confidentiality and authenticity of the communication. You have a counter mode of operation, and you have a CMAC, you have AES. You can combine this. A single key is used for both encryption and MAC algorithms. A single key. Uh, yes, it's a single key. And finally, you have a counter with blockchaining message authentication code, or CCM. You have here is a data will be both authenticated and also encrypted. So you have a plain text and nonce. Nonce is another like a string of bit like hash function, but you add some nonce to make it more difficult, to make it more confused to the attackers. And then you have the associated data. It's authenticated but not encrypted. Okay, it's like a protocol header. So you combine all this and you break it into the block, and then you add the K is not K is the key, if I'm not single key, yes, key, single key. And then you have this, you use a cipher blockchaining message authentication code, and you create a tag. This for authentication, and this is used for the encryption. Okay, this is for the authentication, authentic message, meaning that verify the message is sent by the same sender or intended sender, and this is the encryption of this. And then you create a ciphertext.